Hello, I am Maisie Allspeed, and here is my report, How Not to Be a Buttface About Mental Illness. Otherwise known as a review of Furiously Happy, a funny book about horrible things by Jenny Lawson. Specifically, today I will be looking at the last chapter called It May Be Easier, But It Wouldn't Be Better. But before we get into that, we should talk about context. First and foremost, we should talk about what is depression. Depression is unfortunately often associated with just being in, say, a bad mood or having sadness. Unfortunately, this is not the case. Depression is often more accurately described as a disruption in mood or behavior, that affects your behavior, health, performance, and daily tasks. Something you may notice about all four of these things is that they are central to how we perform day to day and our average well-being. This means that depression is a very serious disease that affects a lot of people in the entire world, and it needs to be treated as such. Lawson's description of depression is much more metaphorical. She describes it as your brain is trying to kill you, or the lies that your brain tells you. The little lies that your head tells you. The ones that say it's all in your head. The ones that say if you were stronger or better, this wouldn't be happening to you. The ones that say there's a reason why your body is trying to kill you. From this, it's fairly obvious to realize that Jenny Lawson's main argument is that mental illness is the same thing as your physical health. In order to hammer this point in more, she describes a rheumatoid arthritis flare-up that she has a couple of times a year, using some of the same diction or language people with depression use that people with depression use. For example, she uses the phrase, "I only get a few a year," when describing the flare-up. And she uses surviving from day to day as the main goal of what she's doing. And lastly, even they get worn out by it all, referring to her family and her friends. In addition to this point, she also makes the argument that people who have depression often suffer from feeling isolated. They often feel like it's their fault, that if they were only better or stronger, as earlier mentioned, they wouldn't have it. She uses this with a Smokey the Bear metaphor and proclaims, "Stop blaming the victim, bears." In addition to this point, she also makes a point that if it weren't for the community of people who had depression coming together, there would be an issue. People would feel more isolated and people would get more depressed. Specifically, she references something called her Folder 24, which is a collection of 24 letters people sent to her because her blog saved their lives. Not her blog itself, what she wrote, but the people on that blog who commented, quote, "Me too." The reason why, though, mental illness is such a touchy topic is because we all bring something different to the table. Oh no, you didn't read that yet. We all bring something new to the table. In Lawson's case, she suffers from mental illness on a day-to-day basis. She has a much more emotional connection to what she is writing and what she is saying. This means that we have a view that's trying to convince us that mental illness is something that is important and prevalent, and it is something that hugely influences her life. As a result, we as the reader will tend to see mental illness and depression as larger than those who have it. Or it's a monster. Give me a second. I would draw a black dog as mental illness is often referred to, but I don't think I can draw that fast. Another perspective that is brought to the table is those of the people who do not have mental depression. The audience of her book probably suggests that these would be psychiatrists, or people like me, who have someone in their lives who is affected by mental illness. Since I am not a psychiatrist, let me finish writing this real quick. Since I am not a psychiatrist, I'm going to analyze the book from my perspective and my interpretive bias. Specifically, because I have someone in my life who has depression, reading this book tells me how to help them, in a humorous way, I might add. It also informs me of what not to do. And because I'm open to suggestion and understanding, it makes me realize that I may never understand what it's like to have depression, but it's good enough if I reach out a hand and help them. Regardless of all of this, I'm doing this in a bathroom, Professor Fiorelli. Regardless, one thing we can take away is that mental health and depression are present and serious, no matter where you are or what context you have, because it affects all of us in our lives. And if we want to help people understand and get rid of their black dog, a common metaphor for depression as previously mentioned, the best thing we can do is help people realize that even if they can't get rid of their depression, it's best if they can control it. Specifically, in the words of Jenny Lawson, quitting may be easier, but it wouldn't be better. And that is my report. Thank you so much.